share the screen. Share. Okay. But can you see that? Obviously, I'm going to get rid of the border
Yes.
around it.
All good.
Cool. Perfect. Right. Let's minimize me so I'm not being distracted. Okay. Cool. That's what I want. View and then full screen. Okay. Right, so hello everyone. As you have already heard, I'm Kayleigh from Kakadu Creative, and today I'm here to talk to you about email marketing and how to create engaging campaigns. So let's dive in. So number one, or let's start with the statistics. So 3.9 billion emails, 3.9 billion email users globally in 2019. 3.9 billion people are using email every day in 2019. That figure is set to increase to 4.3 billion in 2023. That's a lot of people using email. The return on investment for email marketing, on average, you'll get £48 return for every pound you spend on business to consumer email marketing. For business to business email marketing, you'll on average get a return of £36 for every pound you spend on your email marketing. There were 293 billion emails sent every day in 2019. And that figure is set to increase to 347 billion emails in 2022 that will be sent every day. That is massive. And those figures mean that actually there's a hell of a lot of noise that you've got to try and cut through when you do your email marketing. So it's important to get it right. And that's why I'm here to help you today. So first things first, when you're looking at your email marketing, you need to ask yourself, what do you want to achieve from your email marketing campaign? There's no point doing a load of emails for the sake of it and not having a goal at the end of it. So is it that you want to keep engaged with your audience? Is it that you want to promote a particular service? Is it that you want to sell your product, if you're a product retailer, is it that you've got products that you want to be able to sell throughout the year? What is the goal of your email marketing? If you make sure that you work out what the goal is, it then means that you can really stay focused on the end result, and you'll create content that will help you to reach that end goal. So make sure that you understand why you're doing an email marketing campaign. But just as important as that is, what do your audience want? There's no point sending out a load of content that fits what you want, but is completely irrelevant to your customer, doesn't talk to them, doesn't engage with them, and doesn't really help you to achieve your goal, because at the end of the day, you need your audience to be engaged and want to read the content that you're sending them. And if you're not sending them content that they want to engage with, they're not going to open it, and they're not going to deliver the result that you want them to deliver for you. So you need to understand why you're doing your email marketing, and you need to understand what your audience want from you. Once you've got that, you can then start creating your email campaigns. So first thing is I thought I'd double click then. First thing you need to think about is your subject line. Now, this is the very, very, very first thing your audience is going to see when they receive an email from you. It needs to grab their attention. It needs to be interesting to them. It doesn't need to give the whole game away, but it needs to make them think, oh, what's this? I want to know a bit more. Keep it short and sweet. So you'll see on your email clients that if you open and close the preview pane, you'll start to see more and less of your subject line. So you need to try and keep it short and sweet, because if it's 20 words long, realistically your reader isn't going to see most of your subject line. So keep it short, keep it sweet, and don't use clickbait. If you start sending out emails that entice them and then they click and the content is completely irrelevant, it's a fast track way to get people to not be engaged, not open your emails next time, and most likely unsubscribe. So there are some examples at the bottom of this, some good subject lines from other companies, and actually one from us as well. This one at the bottom, the pro tip, nobody cares what your favorite color is, that saw twice as much engagement as any of our other campaigns. And the reason being is that pro tip, that piques their interest. They're like, oh, okay, what's going on here? And most of the time, when this was appearing in people's inboxes, they were mainly saying, nobody cares what you're, and then the end of it, they weren't necessarily seeing. So it was engaging, it was piquing their interest. And even if they did see all of it, they wanted to understand, why are you telling me this? And it was all about color and design, and how most people's favorite color is blue, but in reality, blue has certain attributes to it that might not be relevant to your business or your message. So the way you use color in design is really important. So your subject line is really important to think about. That's, like I said, that's the first thing that people will see. After that, the next thing they will see is your preview text. So again, you want to keep it short, keep it engaging, keep the important bits first, because as I was saying before, as people view their email inbox on different devices and also in different pane sizes, some of your content will get dropped off. So you want to keep the important bits first. So no matter where your customer sees that email, they're always going to see the important bits of your preview text. So again, aim to stay under 50 characters. So that's the bit you need to do to engage the audience when it's in the inbox. This is before they've even clicked on your email, before they've even read it. This is what you need to get right first to make sure that you're maximizing the chances of people even clicking on your email to open it. Then once they've done that, once you've done that part of the hard work, you then need to get into email content. So content, stay on brand. If you've got colors, use your colors. If you've got fonts, use your fonts. The only time that the font will be an issue is that when you're getting into the body copy, you're limited to the types of fonts that you can use. It's about 5 or 6 fonts you can use. They're called web fonts. And the reason you're limited to those is because if you have a custom font, it's very unlikely that your end user is going to have the same font that you use saved onto their computer. So they're not going to see it in the way you want them to see it. So we, as a design agency, we've got quite bold, strong custom fonts. So for example, you'll see here on this screen, the internet can be a very dirty place. Now, the likelihood of the end user having this font in their font book on their computer is incredibly small. So this font is embedded into that image. This font down here, the bit we're saying we're not talking about those sites, we're talking about the energy that's needed to power it. That is a web font, and that font is set so that no matter where it appears, that end user will be able to see that font as we've designed it. And a thing to note about embedding text into an image is that not everyone can obviously see. So you need to make sure that your emails are accessible. And that's what this line down here, the set alt text for your images, is about. So it might be that people can't see. It might be that people don't download all of the images that you embed into your email. So what you do is you set alt text, and that's basically saying to a screen reader, this is what this image is. So for example, in this image, our alt text is the internet can be a very dirty place. So whether they download this image or not, they will still see that text and they will still see that headline. Use a clear content hierarchy. So I'm jumping straight back up to the top again. So use a clear content hierarchy. Very often we see emails where it's just a big block of text that's all the same size. It's like 4 or 5 paragraphs long. And to an end user, the likelihood of them wanting to sit and read through that content is very, very small. They don't want to sit and read an essay in their inbox. So make sure you break it up. Make sure you have a really clear headline, a really clear subheading, and keep your content short and sweet. Include strong visuals. So for people that have downloaded the images and who aren't visually impaired, make sure you're using strong visuals, because again, they're way more engaging than big blocks of text. They get your message across way faster than a big paragraph. And they're more enticing, they're more attractive to us. We process images way faster than we process text. So you can get a message across much faster with an image than you can with a big block of text. Something to consider is using GIFs. These can be quite cool. They're quite simple to make, and they just add a bit of dynamic content to your site and something a bit more engaging and interesting. But don't use images and GIFs only. So we've seen emails before where designers have created an email and it's literally 4 or 5 blocks of images and all the text is embedded. And whilst it looks cool, realistically from an accessibility side, so for people who are visually impaired, they're not going to be able to engage with that. And also, if you create an email that's full of images, it's quite heavy for some people to download, and some, like I said earlier, some people don't auto download the images, so they have to click to download images. So if they get an email and it's just 4 blank boxes with a little bit of alt text, there's nothing there to engage them and to entice them to click download images to see what's going on in there. So don't just rely on images, but make sure you do use some strong ones for obviously to engage and bring people in. And optimize your images for the web. Now, this is for email marketing and for your website. Do not use images that are 1, 2, 3, 4 megabytes large, because that is a lot for someone to download. You need to make sure that your images are small file sizes, so around 100, 200 kilobytes. And the reason for this is they download much faster, and if people are downloading your emails on their phone, you're not going to suck all their data by them trying to download huge emails from you because you've used 4, 5, 6 gigabyte images. Same with your website, it slows your website down massively. Make sure you're optimizing your images for web. Staying on the content side, so I've mentioned obviously avoid big blocks of text, keep it short, keep it sweet. You don't need to put your entire blog post, for example, into an email. Put the first engaging paragraph in, and then have a clear call to action saying read more, click this to read more. You don't need to put your whole product description on an email. Have some of the key points and then click here to find out more. You want people to actually you want people to take action from your email. You don't want them to see your email and that's it, they're gone. They've not gone any further. You want them to come to your site. You want them to create an action, to whether it's buy a product, read your blog post, sign up to a new service, download a document. So don't put it all in your email. Make sure there's something that makes them want to click and find out more. And also don't just rely on one message, because that sort of lead message that we had up here, this isn't necessarily going to be of interest to everyone. So if we just send an email out and it's got one message in it and it's not engaged me, for example, as a reader, am I likely to open that email the next time if there's nothing else in the email that I found interesting or I found relevant? Maybe, maybe not. So include some sub messages, include something that might talk to a different portion of your audience than the lead message has, for example. And so include some sub messages. Always include links to your social, always include links to your main site, and make sure that you've got links to view the email in your browser. It's just a few things that help, one, to engage more people and to make sure that they open your emails and are able to read them wherever they are. And also the links to your main site and your social mean that they've got other ways to engage with your content and your business, rather than just the content that you've put on your email. And then as we go through, so we've created the content, we've done the subject line, we've created the preview text, we've got through all the content, we've sent it all out, perfect. Oh, no, sorry, I'm lying, we haven't sent it yet. So before you send it, A/B testing. Now, if you've not heard of this, this is basically a process where you create your email, and it might be that you've got a couple of headlines that you want to try. You're not sure which one's going to be the most engaging, which one's going to get the best results. Now, what you can do in this situation is to A/B test. So this here is a screen grab from MailChimp, but they have a really great A/B testing platform. And you can go in and you can say, I want to test a subject line, and you can select up to 3 different combinations for your subject line. You say, right, I want to test my subject line. I want you to send it to 10% of my audience. And I want you to, after you've sent that to that 10% of audience, here we've got it set to 4 hours. After 4 hours, whichever subject line has delivered the best open rate, the best click rate, I want you to then send that version of my email to the remaining 90% of my audience. You can do that with your content, with the time you send the email, even with the, who the email's been sent from. You can test it before you send it to your whole audience. And the benefit of doing A/B testing is that you can massively uptick your open rate, your click rate, just by tweaking a couple of bits and just sending it to a small portion of your audience and just seeing which one engages best and then sending it to the bulk. So do some A/B testing. Once you've worked out what content has delivered the best response, or what subject line, for example, has delivered the best response, then send it out to the remainder of your audience to maximize your results from your email marketing. Once you've done your email marketing, it's really, really important to make sure that you analyze your results. So you want to analyze your open rate. You want to your open rate, if you don't know what that is, I should probably explain. So your open rate is, say you've sent your email to 100 people and 20 people have opened it. That means you've got an open rate of 20%. Your click rate is then how many people from your open rate have then clicked through from your email and then clicked on your links to go wherever you've asked them to go to. You want to keep an eye on your unsubscribes. So if you're getting really high unsubscribes, you need to have a look at, okay, am I sending out content that's really not relevant? Or is it that we've built our mailing list from sources that, do you know what, aren't really our target audience? So you want to keep an eye on what's going on with your unsubscribes. And if you're getting really high unsubscribes, pivot your content, pivot what you're sending to people, and maybe have a clear out of your data, clear some of your old data that's really not right. You're not your target audience anymore, and keep that nice and keep your data pot really relevant. Because if you get really high unsubscribes, the algorithms and the mailing providers will start looking at your content and saying, this is spam, people don't want this, and they'll start limiting who receives it. Links clicked. So again, this helps you to understand what content is most relevant and most engaging to your audience. So keep an eye on what content people are clicking on and what they're engaging with, because then that will help to guide you on what you put into your future emails to, again, maximize your response. Abuse reports. Now, this one is one you really, really need to keep an eye on. If you start getting lots of abuse reports, that's basically people saying, I've never signed up to this, I never asked for this, or this is completely offensive content, I don't want this. And if you start getting really high abuse reports, again, mailing providers will start massively limiting who can receive your email and whether your email even gets into people's inboxes. You'll quite often see abuse reports if you're sending to data that you maybe haven't engaged with for several years, and they've kind of forgotten that you've even existed, and all of a sudden you start using a data pot that you've built from 3-4 years ago and start emailing them. If you've not done an email campaign initially to say, hi, we've not been in touch for a while, do you want us to keep sending you emails? If you suddenly start sending them email marketing, you'll get abuse reports. And don't buy marketing lists, because if you buy marketing lists, again, they've not engaged with you, they don't know who you are. So you start sending emails out, again, you're most likely going to get abuse reports. So just make sure you're sending content to people that actually want to receive your content. And lastly, down here is bounced emails. So there's two types of bounces that you'll get. There's a soft bounce and there's a hard bounce. A soft bounce could be that the recipient's email inbox is full and they can't receive your email anymore. It could be that there's a server issue at their end. There could be a few reasons that your email has bounced out, that bounce is basically not received by them. But it's not a forever problem. It's not something that next time you send to the excuse me, it's not something that when you send to them next time, you'll have the same issue. It's most likely that when you send an email to them again, that problem will be resolved and you'll be able to reach them. A hard bounce, for example, hard bounce on the other hand that's it. You're never going to be able to get to these people. So it could be that the email address has been deleted, the domain's been deleted, the account's been deleted. These people, they're gone, that email address is gone. So keep an eye on your bounced emails and clear out any that are hard bounce, because you're just not going to be able to reach them again, and it just helps to keep your database clean. And then, we're on to bonus tips. So send your emails from a company email address. How professional do you really think it looks if you get an email? If I was to send you an email from Kayleigh@yahoo.com, you're not going to take me seriously. And it's the same for your email marketing. Make sure you send your emails from a professional domain-specific email address. Use an email marketing provider, not your inbox or outbox. So an email marketing provider are things like MailChimp, Sendinblue, HubSpot. And the reason for this is they give you so many tools to help you maximize your marketing and to analyze and run reports. But not only that, they also massively keep you GDPR compliant. So they keep a record of how people have signed up to your mailing list. So if you were to ever get an abuse report and you got investigated, for example, by the ICO, you've got a record of how those people signed up to your mailing list. If you've just got it on an Excel spreadsheet on your computer, or you've got it written down on a piece of paper, you've got no proof that you got authorization to send these people emails. And it means that you could be open to a fine. So if you use email marketing providers, it keeps you legally compliant and keeps you secure. Plan your email marketing. So like I said at the beginning, understand why you're doing your email marketing and make a plan of the kind of content that you're going to create to help you achieve that end goal that you've got for your email marketing. And on the back of that, stay consistent. So staying consistent with your email marketing is good for two reasons. It's one, it keeps it really easy for you to make a plan. So for example, we're going to send our email out at the beginning of every month. If you know that, you can make sure that you've got the time in your diary to write the content, create the email, test it and get it sent. But if you don't stay consistent and you don't put that time in your diary, you'll start just throwing out emails for the sake of throwing out emails. You'll start rushing stuff, and you won't be delivering the best content for your end user. So take your time with this and make sure you stay consistent and give yourself time to really create good content. And the other reason you want to stay consistent as well is because it starts to make you build you up as a reliable business to your audience. They start becoming to rely on the fact that they're going to get your email every month. They're going to get that check-in. And if you suddenly send them an email after 6 months and they've kind of forgotten about you, you're again more likely to have people unsubscribe. So stay consistent and use a schedule that works for you and your audience. So if you'd love to send an email every week, but realistically it's just too much, don't set yourself a task of sending an email out every week. Do it once a month. And if you'd love to send an email out every day, but realistically your buyer, your audience would not expect to get an email from you every day, don't do it. Like, how many people have signed up to email lists in this group and suddenly started to get an email every week for stuff, and you're like, this is ridiculous. Like, for example, I'll give you an example. This is how rock and roll I am. I've bought socks twice in the last 6 months. Very rock and roll, I know. And I've signed up, I've bought the socks, I've signed up to the mailing list, and I've got an email from both of these businesses every week. I'm not buying socks every week, let's be honest, I'm not. So it's ridiculous to send an email that regularly, and I've unsubscribed from both email lists because it was just too much. I don't need to find out about your new print every week. I'm not buying socks every week. So stay consistent and use a schedule that works for you and your audience. Send a welcome email. So this is a really good thing to do. So when people first sign up, you send them a welcome email, you welcome them to your mailing list, you straight away start engaging with them, you straight away give them a feel for the kind of content to expect from you. It's not a necessity, but it's a really nice thing to start that open dialogue and that email dialogue with your audience. I touched on this before, don't buy email lists. It's really tempting to do, but is it really your audience? Have you really started to build have you really started to build a relationship with them? Are they expecting your emails? No. So don't do it. Don't buy an email marketing list. It's not best practice. And legally, you must always include a way for recipients to unsubscribe. So with the email marketing providers I mentioned, such as MailChimp, HubSpot, all the rest of them, they automatically put a link in the bottom to allow people to one-click unsubscribe. That keeps you legally compliant. I've seen people before send marketing emails and put in the footer, if you don't want to receive emails from me, please reply and tell me. People aren't really going to do that. So yes, you're staying legally compliant, but by not allowing people to really easily unsubscribe, you're keeping people on your list that aren't engaged, aren't going to read your emails, and you're just wasting your time talking to them. So the one-click unsubscribe in the footer is the best way to do it. Don't ask people to reply to your email to personally request for them to be unsubscribed. It's not great. And I think that's it. I think I've got on the next page, if it's going to move, it's not moving. Oh, there we go, it's jumped. So these are some email marketing providers that you can use. Disclaimer, we haven't used them all, so we can't comment on how easy they are to use. But here's a few. If you're not already using some, check them out. There's some good ones in there. And do you want more helpful content like this? So you won't be surprised to hear that we have a monthly newsletter where we send out how-tos, tips and tricks every month to help you in your business with your design and marketing. So if you want more content like this, head over to that URL, subscribe, and you'll get our email once a month. That's the schedule that works for us. That's the schedule that works for our audience. And finally, do you need help with your next campaign? If you do, get in touch. Let's talk email and let's see how we can help you. And that is me. I'm going to stop sharing now. And if anyone's got any questions, I'm happy to help.
That was brilliant. Thank you, Kayleigh. I saw a question from Helen in the chat asking how many hours we should commit each week to email marketing. I think you sort of answered that in terms of your comments around the frequency that works for people, but any further thoughts on that?
For us personally, we normally have it takes probably about a day to create each of our emails, but we spend quite a lot of time in regards to the design as well, because we create custom designs for each header. So it will be around half a day to create the content, work out what the plan is, and then half a day to design it up and then send it. So that works for us. It might be that you don't want to spend quite as much time on that, half a day. It really does depend on what content you're putting out there. But I'd say give yourself a day for each email you send out, to make sure that you've really given it a time to plan, design it up, test it, and get it out properly.
Thank you. Okay, so Lena's asking, Lena says, I only send notifications about new products, services, events, blogs, etc., which is approximately monthly. What software would you recommend for that?
So Lena, I'll send you the list at the end of that presentation, but MailChimp's quite a good one. It's a very robust platform. They've got a nice free entry-level plan as well, where you can get the emails out. It gives you you can't do the A/B testing with the free platform, but you can get a lot of reports, and it keeps you all GDPR compliant. So I'd probably say MailChimp's a good one to start with.
I would agree with that as well. Obviously, it's something I counsel a lot of people on. Although I would say, really good to see ArcFlux on your list, actually. Excellent.
Yeah, they're local, they're great.
Data provider, yeah, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, right, some more questions. So Sabrina says, if you are your personal brand, is it better to have it coming from you than from your business if it's less well known?
If it's coming, so what I would do in that case, I would still have it coming from your business, because realistically, it still gives you credibility. Whether you're a sole trader or a business, having a business name behind you makes you professional, makes you, more trusting. And there's something I was reading the other day that was saying about the argument of, if you're a sole trader, do you have your own website or do you not? Do you have your own domain and do you not? And the answer, it was a really good debate, and they were saying about how, in reality, having that business behind you, having that business name, shows that you've really invested, you've really taken the time to build a company up, and you've actually put money into it. So the likelihood of you disappearing the next day because, oh, do you know what, I'm done with this now, I had a go, I'm not really that bothered, it was a little trial of whether this business would work. If you just have it as you're more, people will see you more as like a fly by night. Whereas if you've got a business behind you and a business name behind you, it gives you more credibility, people are more trusting. So I'd have it, so for in your case, Sabrina, I'd have it as the email comes from Sabrina at the Impact Agency, and then the display name would be Sabrina from the Impact Agency. So people still know it's you, but they also see that it's you with your business.
Also sounds like it might be an interesting opportunity for some A/B testing based on what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so Sam has said, is it worth, I think actually, Sam, I'm not even going to phrase this as a question, because it is worth reminding people that if you hold data in an email list, you need to be registered with the Information Commissioner's Office. That is a legal requirement in the UK. I appreciate there's a couple of people here not in the UK, but it is non-negotiable. If you hold any customer or prospect data, you must register. It's only about £30 a year, but you need to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Sam, if you've got the link, I know you've sent me the link before, it's worth popping that in the chat. It's 35 quid a year, it's nothing, and it keeps you compliant, and you're not going to be
bargain compared to that 20 million euro fine if you're not registered.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Shabari says, if you have an Excel spreadsheet of contacts, can you import the names and email addresses to any of the platforms such as MailChimp?
You can, yes, you can. So you'd have to import it as a CSV file. But what I would say is, if you've got this Excel spreadsheet and you're importing it into MailChimp, before you send them any marketing email communications, send them an initial email and say, hi, blah, 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 this is us. We haven't spoken to you in a while. We're going to be starting to do email marketing. Please confirm if you would like us to keep you on our list. And then give them the option to say yes or no, and to essentially it's like a double opt-in. You're confirming that they're happy to keep you on the list. If they confirm that they're happy to keep you on, that they're happy for you to keep them on the list, keep them. If they say they want to be unsubscribed, unsubscribe them. And if they don't reply, we've done it before for customers where you send them a second and then a third email saying, like, sort of just checking, we're about to clear you off. Do you want to stay on or do you not? And once you've done once you've done 2 or 3 of these emails, just asking if you're okay to keep their data, anyone who's not specifically said yes, delete them. Because if you've not got their permission at that point, after you've sent them 2 or 3, delete them. You've got no legal grounds necessary to keep them unless you've got, I don't know how you've built this Excel spreadsheet, but personally I would be doing it that way to make sure I'm compliant and not going to get a fine from the ICO.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Having got a copy of the Data Protection Act on my desk here, it's definitely the way to do it. And bear in mind that anyone that you put on your list before the 25th of May 2018, when the Data Protection Act came into force, you will need to have reacquired consent from those people anyway, because all consent that existed prior to that date was effectively rendered null and void. So, okay, question from Sabrina saying, do you have any ideas how to get people onto the list? Does anything work especially well?
So there's no one trick pony, unfortunately, Sabrina. So the thing you really are asking about is lead magnets. They are one of your main forms of getting people to sign up. So that's essentially where you give someone something in return for their email address, whether that's you do a free course, you maybe do a taster course and you get people to sign up, or you create a downloadable document that people can download, and in order to download it, they have to give you their email address. There's an article on the Kakadu page all about lead magnets and some ideas on there. So I'll send you a link to that, Sabrina, so you can have a look through. But yeah, that's you need to create some lead magnets and create some funnels.
Sam's already popped the link in the chat.
Perfect.
Very efficient. Thank you, Sam.
That was actually that article was actually written by Sam.
Fantastic. There we go. And yeah, I would say as well, I mean, I'd agree with that. Obviously, Kayleigh, you look after my website, and you've done some lead magnets for me, and they have worked really, really well. And I think giving away free stuff definitely works. You know, I've got a checklist that's generated a couple of hundred people, and also free copies of my book is another example that's generated. I mean, I've got 200 people on in the last 2 weeks from that. So that does work, but you've got to be prepared to give away free stuff, and that might cost you money. That's the thing, or plugging away.
And also remember, just in the UK, you can't force people to sign up if you're giving something for free.
No, you can't.
You have to give them the ability to not subscribe if you're giving something for free.
Yes, that's a GDPR.
You still have to give them the item.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well reminded. Thank you. Good. Right. Anyone got any further questions for Kayleigh?
I do.
Okay, go for it, Simone.
First of all, crazy. I buy new socks every week. No. So nice to get that reminder. So, I really actually enjoy what you said about the if people unsubscribe too much or don't open enough, that it goes into spam. And I actually know a coach who coaches that you should every now and again, twice a year, she does this email campaign like, hey, are you still reading my emails? And if you don't click yes, I do, you get unsubscribed automatically. What are your thoughts on that in regards to keeping it clean that way?
Yeah, so it's something that we've sort of we do periodically. We clear out data that so we use MailChimp, and they've got a 5-star rating for your contacts. If a contact's got 5 stars, they're really engaged. They open every email. They'll probably open every email 3 or 4 times. And on the other end of the scale, they're a 1-star contact, which means that realistically, they are very, very unlikely to open your emails or engage. And sometimes we will clear those people out and sometimes we won't. The reason that we are sometimes a bit slow on clearing those contacts out is because for us, our type of business is quite a long sales journey. You're not buying a new website every 3 months. You know, realistically, you're going to be looking at a new website maybe every 3 years, maybe every 5 years. So it's a much longer sales journey for us. I was talking to someone before, and they were saying that they worked for a company and they signed up to a mailing list for an events company, and they basically were put onto this mailing list, but it wasn't relevant for them at that particular time. And then 18 months down the line, it was David from Vegan Business Tribe. It was something he was talking about. So he was on a mailing list and for this events company, but they were a really expensive events company, and the company he worked for at the time just didn't have the budget for them. So he was on their mailing list, he got their email every month, he didn't open it, it wasn't relevant. 18 months later, he was working at a company that had a massive budget for an event stand, got this email from this event company that he'd been on the mailing list for 18 months. Lo and behold, he contacted them and bought a stand from them for like tens of thousands of pounds. So it's kind of, you've got to think about your audience. How fast are they likely to want your product? How likely are they to, after a year, still be interested, still be in your like in the sales frame of mind? And if they're not within a year, then take them out. But if you've got a long sales channel or sales time, then leave them on until you sort of think, do you know what, if they've not bought from us in the last 3 years or 2 years, they need to go, clear them off. It's a bit of a, it depends on your business. Oh, I'm your 5-star subscriber, Mark.
Yeah, I've got one 5-star, one easy for me to say 5-star subscriber on my list. I just thought I'd have a little look, and it turns out you're the only one I've got, Kayleigh. I've got lots of 4s, but I've only got 1 5, and it's you. Possibly because you work on my email, so you open it. There we go. Good. Any further questions for Kayleigh before I end the recording? Wave or something, and I'll grab you. No. Okay. Right. Thank you very much for that, Kayleigh. Super informative, really useful. I'm glad I delayed my monthly email that I was going to put together last week until I've seen what you said today, because there's a few tips in there I should definitely be picking up on. So thank you very much. You're welcome.
And if anyone obviously has any questions, I'll drop my details in the chat as always. But if anyone's got any questions after this that you just want to run by us, then please do feel free to give me a shout. And like I said, we send out this isn't a plug to get you onto the newsletter, but we do send out content like this every month. So if you do find this stuff useful, then yeah, I'll pop the sign up.
The newsletter is actually very informative. It's not about socks, although you should.
This sort of going back to my initial point. So I mean, I'll sort of give you an idea of what happened. But when we first started, back nearly 3 years ago, our first few emails we sent out were, here's our latest project that we've completed, and this is a service that we do. And after sort of 3, 4, 5 months, we looked at it and we sort of sat back and said, if we were our customer and we got an email every month just saying, look what we've just designed for another company, would we care? Probably not. So actually, what can we do for our audience that helps them and that sort of still showcases what we can do, but does it in a way that's about the customer first and not about us first? And that's why we massively pivoted our content creation strategy and our email marketing strategy to make sure that every email we send out is actually customer first and content and helpful, rather than saying, look, we just designed a great website, or look at this brochure we just did, because you wouldn't care if we sent you that. So that's something to think about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Brilliant. Thank you. Right, I shall finish the recording.